F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hogue Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4.
There are certain games in the season that carry more than just a final score, and this is one of them. Newport Harbor and Huntington Beach entered tonight with a series hanging in the balance. A league title race already shaped and a result that could leave a lasting mark on the Sunset League baseball. The Sailors have pushed the Oilers all series long. The pitching has been sharp. The margins have been razor thin, and now it all comes down to one more game in this regular season finale under the lights at Stewart W. Fine Field. Good evening and welcome to TAR TV Sports. I'm Justin Lee, joined alongside Colin Costigan. First time with us. Glad to have you. He's making his TAR TV Sports debut tonight. Colin, it's great to have you in the booth here with basically so much on the line.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Justin. And there's nothing better than stepping in for a game like this. You've got two great programs, a packed field, and a series that means a ton for both teams. This is the kind of matchup where every pitch and every at-bat matters.
Indeed it does. Taking a look at the bigger picture, Newport Harbor has made this a real fight from the start. The Sailors have brought a challenge to Huntington Beach in every game so far, and both matchups in this series have been decided by just a single run. The pitching has been excellent, the defense has held up, and Newport has shown it can go toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the country. Huntington Beach, meanwhile, comes in after clinching first place in the Sunset League with a 2-1 win back on Wednesday. And thanks to a game-winning solo home run from Eli Mason, the Oilers have been one of the most complete teams in the state all year. And they have a chance to finish off a league series sweep that would lock up every series in Sunset League play for them. Something that really we don't see often, but if not at all.
Absolutely, and that's what makes tonight so significant. The winner of this game, of course, takes the series, and in a league like the Sunset League, that kind of outcome is rare enough to stand out, of course. You do not usually see one team win every league series they play, but that is exactly what is at stake here, Justin. Newport Harbor is also trying to protect a streak of its own, because last season it was the Sailors who handed Huntington Beach its only series loss and won the final two games of that matchup. And of course, for Newport Harbor, Gavin Guy has been that guy, and that's the name you immediately circle. He threw a complete game shutout against Huntington Beach in the first game of this series, and he now comes in tonight with the chance to make an even bigger impact with the bat. Ryan Williams is another huge piece. He is the starting pitcher tonight and the team captain, which of course tells you everything about the trust this group has in him. When your leader is on the mound in a game like this, the tone changes right away.
Earlier today, we had a chance to catch up with Ryan Williams to talk about his mindset heading into a game with this much meaning and what that will take to close out this series today.
Last year was a great example of what a baseball team's supposed to be like here at Harbor, with the seniors leading us very well last year. And myself, Gavin, and Brooks, we tried to carry that over this year. I think we've done a pretty good job just creating a brotherhood here. And on the field, we're great with each other, and more importantly, off the field, we're there for each other. So I think that helps a lot with our play and our friendships. Something we've been stressing a lot in practice is putting the ball on the ground more. Hard line drives, you don't get that many hits when you pop the ball up in the air a lot. And again, just on the defensive side, more fundamental defense, making sure we can play behind our pitchers and get outs when they're needed.
And now for the keys to the game. The bottom line for Newport Harbor is to stay patient and keep pressure on Huntington Beach from the first inning all the way through. In a game like this, you cannot give away outs or try to do too much too early. If the Sailors can work counts and make the Oilers throw strikes and keep traffic on the bases, they give themselves a real chance to control tempo, and with that defense, must be as clean as well, Colin.
Of course. So my key is to win the big moments on the mound and on the field. Huntington Beach is too good to beat with mistakes, so Newport Harbor has to be clean defensively, be sharp on every throw, and of course be ready to answer when the pressure rises. If the Sailors can limit damage and stay composed in high leverage innings, they can turn this into a true battle down into the final outs.
Well, for now, we're going to take a side momentarily, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll continue building up toward a huge matchup between Newport Harbor and Huntington Beach right here on TAR TV Sports.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. with an estimated driving range of around 700.
When Gavin was asked about his favorite memory,
Welcome back to Stewart W. Fine Field today for this matchup between Newport Harbor and Huntington Beach in what is the regular season finale, but it won't be the end for these two teams coming into this one. And like we talked about, low-scoring games, much different than what we've seen a year ago. The first game with Huntington Beach, a 1-0 win. Last game was a 1-2 loss. Although I think most Newport fans would think, hey, look, we were set up right there on the table to take the Sunset League. And the first one since 1948, they would have been able to secure a Sunset League title. But I'm sure they'll take the Division I playoff spot. And that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about a lot today, because if they win today, they essentially clinch a spot in the CIF Southern Section in Division I playoffs. And just like a year ago, I'm sure they want to get farther than what they did a year ago, Colin.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a quick exit from them for last season in the playoffs, of course. But they've been so close for so many years. I mean, the last couple years, they've been right behind the same team in Huntington Beach, but they've won 9 consecutive titles now in the Sunset League. So it just makes sense. But they're right there, and you're so optimistic about what they're able to do, especially with who's on the mound.
Absolutely, with who's on the mound. It's been a question, though, here and there. You know, we talk about, you know, a lot of these other guys for Newport Harbor, Gavin Guy and Grant Horsley. And look, that third spot has been a little bit questioned. So Ryan Williams today, if he can secure that spot, will certainly help him a lot. Well, let's take a step aside. National anthem coming up here. Over to Mr. PA announcer.
everybody to please stand, remove your caps, and turn your attention to the American flag for the playing of our national anthem. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Stewart Fine Field in Game 3 between the Huntington Beach Oilers and the Newport Harbor Sailors. We're starting pitcher for the Sailors today.
Well, just about to get underway here at Stewart W. Fine Field. Ryan Williams will take the mound here for the Sailors and try to secure them a series finale, season finale here today against the Huntington Beach Oilers. So far this season, Ryan Williams has been very solid through 7 appearances, 30 2/3 of an inning pitch, 2-1 on the season, an ERA sub-1 of 0.91. His last start against Fountain Valley High School, complete game, got the win, only 2 walks and 8 strikeouts, no earned runs on 7 hits against Fountain Valley, and really held down the doorstep for the Sailors. And just like today, they're really going to need number 6 to hold things down here against the Oilers. But this pitching staff has held it down thus far, aside from a few runs here and there. The question becomes, what does the offense do on the Sailors side in order to change an outcome here today?
Yeah, absolutely. Runs have come at a premium in this series, and it's a huge credit to the pitching staff. I mean, you see everything that they've been able to do in this series, and it's sort of interesting how this turns out. You have 2 really good offenses coming into this series, but then they've been completely eliminated by some stellar pitching as well.
Well, here we go. This is your lineup for Huntington Beach. Parker Leoff at third base. Batting second, number 20, Jared Greidlinger. Batting third, Eli Mason. Batting fourth, number 23, Dane Cunningham. Batting fifth, number 3, Owen Bone. Batting sixth, number 2, Sol Moriyama. Batting seventh, 26, Tanner Brown. Batting eighth, number 20, Charlie Henderson. And at the bottom of the order, number 56, Jason Dunham. He'll be at shortstop today for the Oilers. Ryan Williams loads up the first pitch, and we are off. Off the plate, ball 1 here to Parker Leoff. Next one, drill to left center. It will get right into the gap. Cut off out there in center field. Leoff with a leadoff double here in the top of the first.
Just a beautiful piece of hitting right there, Justin. Got the barrel out in front right there and just let it do the work. He was right there for it and just followed the ball in towards that left center field gap. And that was a big hit for him. That was his coming, he had a little bit of a rough April. He went 9 for 41, but he had 13 runs scored, and he, of course, scored the first run in the third inning on Wednesday. So good for him to be able to start off May very hot.
The commit to UCLA, #1 team in the country before they played USC, and he stands on second base. Good position here for the Oilers, at least ranked first, and that has kind of been the question a little bit the last couple games for the Oilers that have not getting off to a quick start, but they're off to a quick start here. Jared Greindlinger gets the first pitch. The ball goes off the catcher's mitt and rolls towards the Oilers dugout, and that's an extra 90 feet for Parker Leoff at third base now with no outs in the top of the first.
Yeah, and we talk about those little mistakes as well. Those kind of things you cannot allow to have happen here early on, and for Ryan Williams, we'll see what he's able to do right here. Obviously, he's had the strikeout stuff working this season, especially in his last outing, so he's really going to have to dig deep in here.
So 1-0 count for Greindlinger. He's not playing on the field today at the designated hitter spot. Gavin Plumma in the catcher's spot will be out there on the field for him since Tanner Brown is in the lineup. He's the starting pitcher for the Oilers. Start off quickly, 2-0 count, quickly behind here, and early on, a bit of a jam here for Ryan Williams through the first early goings of this one. Next delivery, that one comes right back into the zone, strike one of the count.
That was a good comeback pitch right there. You saw those last two kind of pop out of his hand a little bit early, and that's why he was missing way out on the far side. Usually with these left-handers, you got to be careful with how you attack them, especially from the right arm slot. Sometimes with that three-quarter arm slot, you got to be careful going inside to these left-handers.
That's a nice breaking pitch. Got a little bit of the cut right below the knees there, and Greindlinger takes, fouls it off the end of the bat, and he, just like that, a 2-2 count. Williams gets the signal, 2-2. Upstairs on the outside, Greindlinger doesn't take. Now he's got a full count to work with. Eli Mason on deck. It was the one that got the Oilers out in front in the last game with that home run deep in the outfield. The Oilers on 4 hits just managed to get away from the Sailors' 5 hits, and a lot of that was credited to a couple mistakes in that last game. 3 errors on the field for the Sailors. A timeout called by Greindlinger. Looks like he's got something in his eyes.
No worse timing right there and a full count right there, especially for a guy in Greindlinger who's grinding out another great at-bat.
It's a little bit interesting, too, because this field is a turf field. No dirt whatsoever. This one's fouled off over the top netting and keeps the at-bat alive. Pitch number 7 of the count coming up.
Yeah. Interesting for Greindlinger with how impressive he's been according to Perfect Game as a guy who's projected right now to be the potential 11th pick in the first round. So a very talented guy we're witnessing right here, and with this amazing full count he's already worked.
Payoff pitch. That one just misses inside. 7-pitch walk for Greindlinger and runners at the corners. No outs in the top of the first. Eli Mason will step into the box here. Lefty hitter. And one of the things that doesn't get a lot of attention is that right field wall, 274 at right field as opposed to the left field side, over 360 feet to left field. So lefty hitter's paradise here at Stuart W. Fine Field. Runners at the corners, no outs in the top of the first. Here's the first pitch. That one stays in under the zone. Good stop there by the catcher. Brooks Francis behind the dish.
And this is definitely the guy you want up right now. I mean, he's hitting nearly 400, had 19 hits in the month of April and 15 RBIs, is a clutch hitter.
Committed to Oklahoma State in the offseason. This one, ground ball, second base, picked up, tossed to second, over to first. That won't be in time there. That scores a run for the Oilers as they sacrifice the run. And just like that, they're up 1-0 here in the top of the first.
Just a great job of situational hitting right there. Didn't try to do too much. He got the barrel out in front of it a little bit and got on top of it, but didn't hit it too hard. Sometimes you can hit the ball too hard in that situation. Would have been an easy double play had he just hit it on a rope, but instead gets himself a chance to get himself on base and try to do some damage.
So that gets the job done here for the Oilers. They strike first in the top of the first inning, and it's 1-0 for the Oilers. Cleanup hitter and Dane Cunningham slices through one pitch that ends up on the outside corner, strike one of the count.
That had such great break on it. That was the first time we've really seen, obviously in the early stages of the game, that Ryan Williams has had a hitter out in front like that.
A 1 count on the way, tries to go for the outside corner, but misses off the plate, 1-1. And Williams, one of the 3 captains on this team. Francis behind the dish, Gavin Guy out on the field as well. Had a complete game in game number 1 of this series that secured the 1-0 victory for them. Williams committed to UC Berkeley. A 3-year varsity starter, 2024 team MVP. That one's off the plate, 2-1. Despite, though, the pitching stats maybe not as great as Gavin Guy, what he doesn't make up is what he does on hitting. 306 on the season, 26 hits, second on the team in hits in total, right behind Keone 1. So his bat will certainly try to come alive in the bottom half of the first inning, but the Sailors need to get out of this right here with just a single out. Next pitch is a ground ball, third base side, picked up, long throw over to first base, in time. 2 outs, 90 feet though for Eli Mason. He's out second base now. So 2 gone and away. Mason moves over to second base, but it's a much better situation here for Ryan Williams to try to get out of this inning here and just limit the damage to just a run. Owen Bone steps in now. That's in their first strike. This Newport infield defense has been so good throughout the season. Their fielding percentage, 95.4% on the season. If you compare their stats to Huntington Beach's side, their fielding stats are 97.1% in total. Popped up in the air, shallow right field. Coming in and calling off the second baseman to make the grab. That ends the inning, but the Oilers up 1-0 early on here in the series finale and the regular season finale here on Tar TV Sports. We'll be right back. Sailors coming up.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
Back here in the bottom of the first inning, already down by a single run for the Sailors, but let's see if they can get something up. Justin Lee alongside Colin Costigan. He's making his Tar TV debut, and as always glad to have a familiar face here inside the booth. So what do the Sailors need to do here in order to come back through and at least, if not tie it, but try to come farther than what they've done through the last couple games? So it's been a struggle between these two teams, and it seems like this tug of war just gets tighter and tighter and tighter every time.
Absolutely. The tug rope, it's kind of like the tug of war going on right now, you could say, and it's the little things that they're going to have to do right, which is what Huntington Beach did a good job. They got a really nice double to begin, but then they just played small ball. They didn't do anything crazy. That's exactly what they need to try to do right here.
First pitch in there for a strike on Keone 1. Their starting pitcher for the Oilers today, Tanner Brown, up on the mound. Very solid so far this season. Lays the next one just down below the zone, 1-1 early on. Not waiting too long between these pitches. He's going immediately right into it. 2.01 ERA on the season, 36 strikeouts in total, 1 save on the year. That one just below the zone as well, 2-1 for Tanner Brown. Against Keone 1, one of the more solid hitters on this Sailor staff, swings through one on the off-speed pitch. He's behind, or evened up 2-2. Got a hit in game 2 of this series with a strikeout, but Keone 1 has been on base every single game of this season. That one's in the dirt off the plate. Full count for Keone 1. He's very patient. He's only just a sophomore this year. Last year was on as a freshman on this side of things at .212 batting average, but this season a .398 batting average. This one popped up in the air, line drive center field. Staying right under it is Mason. Only takes a few steps. One gone to the bottom of the first. Something to keep a note of with the way that Stuart W. Fine Field is angled, that the sun will set behind us here in the booth, behind the dish. And once that sun kind of dips over close to the horizon, it'll kind of come into the face of the pitching staff for both sides. So that might become an issue later on today. Ryan Williams, our starting pitcher, will try to see if he can get something back here after giving up a run. A couple of inside pitches, 2-0. Williams looks like he had a few choice words there as the home plate umpire tells him to cool off a little bit. I'm not sure if that was directed towards Brown or Plumma behind the plate. Fastball just right at the knees, 2-1 count.
Yeah, and for Williams, this will be a nice AB to see what he's able to try to work up here. I mean, obviously the numbers speak for itself, but he's just been 1 for his last 12 lately.
Drills this one just over the head of the shortstop, Dunham. Into left, and he's on board with a 1-out single in the bottom of the first.
And Justin, I just love when an announcer's jinx goes against me right there, trying to wish him well and try to get back into it. And now you have Gavin Guy, of course, who I was saying has been the guy on the mound, but we'll see if he's going to be able to try to turn something up there.
Well, certainly would like to try to get that run back, and he's getting us started with the first hit of the game for the Sailors. On board at first base, and now right behind him, his other captain, and Gavin Guy up to the plate here. That was a pretty well-struck ball. And to tell you, it's probably a good thing that the jinx goes the other way for you, because most of the time that I've been here in the booth, they've kind of gone the wrong way when I'm on the call.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a trend that happens far too often, and I can definitely back you up on that one, Justin.
Pick off at first base. Williams gets in with a dive. Well, there hasn't been a lot of chipperness between these two teams in the last couple of games. If anything, more of the Los Alamitos and Newport Harbor game, but it looks like there's a bit of a rivalry here between the two starting pitchers. Twice now, even before the first pitch is thrown to Gavin Guy, as Tanner Brown shakes his head at first base. Fouled off just behind that pitch, down the right field side for Gavin Guy. 0-1. Well, I mean, it's expected when you have teams like this that are at the top of the standings. Despite the Oilers having the Sunset League title already, this game more for pride on the Oilers side, but this is a very important game for the Sailors if they want to get into the playoffs, Colin.
Absolutely, and for the Sailors, it's sort of got to do everything right against a very tough Huntington Beach team. I mean, there's not a lot of room for error with how perfect that they've been pretty much this season.
Here's the next delivery. That one is a fastball below the knees. 2-1. Brown really keeping a close eye at first base. Keeping tempo, though, with his pitches. Delivers one outside. Sliding stop by Pluma. 3-1 count. Newport dugout starting to get a little loud now, as opposed to what they've been the last couple of games. 3-1 on the way. This one a ground ball to the shortstop. Dunham throws to second base. Over to first. 6-4-3 double play will retire the side for the Sailors. Brown gets out of it quickly with the threat at first base as they leave him stranded. Off to the second we go. 1-0 for the Oilers.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 Power Boost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump.
Top of the second inning here at Stewart W. Fine Field. Beautiful campus here at Newport Harbor High School. First pitch delivered outside in the righty batter's box. 1-0. Sol Moriyama to lead things off here for the Oilers. Number 2 number on his jersey. Takes it opposite field, down that left field line. Whitaker will get to it first. Moriyama turns first, goes to second. Throw is off the glove there on Oren Damish, and another leadoff double for another Oilers hitter.
Well, Justin, the key right now to get after Williams is attack early, and you see them doing a great job of that. I was just about to mention for Moriyama as well. Still searching for his first hit in the series, was 0 for 5 across the first 2 games, and almost did another jinx. I'll say that this one I'm 2-0 because I was thinking it. I didn't say it this time, but I was definitely thinking it.
Well, it doesn't come alive until you make it present, so in the universe, but a good hit there for Sol Moriyama. It's the only 2 hits so far have been 2 extra base hits from the leadoff man in both of the first half of each inning. Now it's Tanner Brown, our starting pitcher, inside the box. He's showing bunt. Drops this one, and it will go foul. So an interesting storyline to watch out for. The last half frame, it was Tanner Brown kind of staring down Ryan Williams while he was up to bat and made 2 pickoff attempts before throwing the first pitch to Gavin Guy, who was up in the box after Williams got on board with a single of his own. Right now, they look like they've calmed down a little bit, but like we said, something to look out for. 0-1 on the way, no outs, top of the second. That one upstairs as Tanner Brown doesn't take on the bunt attempt. That's also been the difference in the last game when it came to bunts. It was Keone 1's bunt laid down that forced a miscommunication with the Oilers defense that got them the go-ahead run in game number 1, or 2 rather. Upstairs, Francis able to go get it out of the air, 2-1. Was in game 1 indeed. Mr. Producer in the studio, there's a reason why we have you, James.
Interested to see where Williams tries to go right here. You saw the last one kind of pop out of his hand. He had to lick the chops a little bit, see if he gets a better grip on this pitch.
Throwing bunt again. That one rolled right to Williams, checks a third, throws a first, the throw a little bit behind, but he'll be out. Brown collides with Oren Damish, but he's able to secure the out there. Moriyama, though, moves to third base. 1 out here in the top of the second.
And you see, this is a program that's showing why they have won 9 straight Sunset League titles as well. You look at it as well. They're doing the little things right over and over again. You have your pitcher laying down perfect bunts right there who can also go at the dish and hit for you as well. I mean, it's just an all-around developed program.
And Coach Benji Madura has built this program from the ground up and has really made Huntington Beach one of the tougher opponents in Southern Section baseball just in general. And you see what they've been able to do through the season. And they beat St. John Bosco early on in the year. They beat Corona, who's number 3 in the state right now, or rather number 5 now in the Southern Section, as Charlie Henderson cuts through behind with an 0-2 count. But you see what Benji Madura's been able to do the last couple of seasons for the Oilers. And again, this is the team to beat here in the Sunset League, but the Sailors, they've been getting closer and closer every single year under Coach Josh Lee. That one's off the plate, 1-2. And if you ask anybody, Coach Benji Madura is certainly one of those coaches that knows how to build a program. He's already accrued over 465 wins on the year. That one's upstairs, 2-2.
Now, I thought it was interesting. You think about his days way back at Riverside Poly. He said he was a mediocre player at best, which I think is kind of funny, but that was what ended up getting him into coaching. He, of course, was under legendary coach Rich Graves as well, had so much influence in his playing career that led up to his coaching career, and he's really built the passion for this program.
Well, the best coaches will tell you that, and I think a lot of people say the same advice, a lot of the more quote-unquote lousy players usually end up becoming some of the best coaches because when they sit on the sidelines, they pay attention to a lot of those details that most other people don't see. Check swing. Henderson does go around on the drop third, and Francis applies the tag. 2nd out. That's the first strikeout for Ryan Williams up on the mound.
Yeah, that was a great put-away pitch right there. You saw him try to go to it on the 0-2 pitch earlier, but obviously didn't get him to bite. But that one on the 2-2 right there had a great break on it and had great tail on it at the very end to just have him out in front.
Williams has been using that slider and that curveball pretty well. He just exhibits the breaking pitch right there. Strike 1 for Jason Dunham at the bottom of the order. One nothing ball game early on here. That ball gets away from Francis. He will not get to it in time, and Moriyama will score easily on the pass ball. 2-0 Oilers.
You see a lot of miscues early on that are coming back to get him. Little things like this you can't give up. I mean, this is already the most amount of runs we've seen in this series. Or rather, I should say that we've already matched that mark.
Williams delivers a pitch inside, right in front of the face mask of Jason Dunham. Ball 2-1. On the way. That one right in the zone at the inside corner. And Williams has a smile on his face there. It's good to see the high emotions from Williams up on the mound despite the 2 runs scored by the Oilers. Down goes Jason Dunham on a swinging drop third strike. That's back-to-back Ks for Ryan Williams. But despite that, the Oilers have a 2-0 lead over the Sailors as we go to the bottom half of the second here on TAR TV Sports.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump.
Bottom half of the second inning here at Stewart W. Fine Field. The Sailors behind 2-0 as we enter the bottom. In there for strike one, Noah Whitaker. He's taking the plate here. Or rather, Henry Mann in the spot in the fourth of the lineup as he fouls that pitch off. He's behind 0-2 in the count. Henry Mann, who has been pretty solid as of late. No hits, though, in that second game a few days ago, but Mann has been the guy so far through this last stretch of the season for the Sailors. Fastball off the plate outside. And one of those three transfers from Mater Dei. He hit that walk-off two-run home run against Los Alamitos. We were here for that call not that long ago. That one also off the plate. 2-2 count. Henry Mann working the count here. That one's fouled off. So behind him would be Grant Horsley, who's on deck right now. That one also off the mark as well. Full count. Well, despite, though, being down by 2 runs, these Sailor hitters have been working these counts pretty long so far against Tanner Brown thus far. He lays off another pitch and is able to piece it off just with the tad stretch of that bat. Still remains a full count. A full count with Keone 1 and a near full count with Gavin Guy. A 2-2 count with Ryan Williams. That one's fouled off the net. Keeps the at-bat alive.
That's another one of these advantages here at Stewart W. Fine Field as well, with the netting hanging right over right there. That one potentially could have been skied straight up, but this is another great at-bat. I wonder if he's going to try to backdoor him with a breaking pitch.
Payoff. He goes with a fastball and he manages to foul it off again.
This is the kind of, of course, this is the kind of at-bat you want to see right here to lead off the bottom of the second inning. And you talk about Gavin Guy being the guy, but Henry Mann's been the man as well, you could say, and kind of been showing that at the plate with the power. See what he's able to do here on this payoff pitch.
Another foul ball. So pitch number 11, a very strong at-bat here from Henry Mann. On the way, another off the end. A battle between number 18 and number 26. Who's going to win the cage fight here in the bottom half of the second inning? Pitch number 12. Another one fouled off.
Feel like something's got to give right here, Justin. He just keeps getting the barrel up there enough. He's been late and jammed on some of these, but that's exactly what you do. I mean, credit to Brown. He's been able to locate his pitches, but Mann is just keeping the battle going.
Here's another one, and that is down below the knees. A massive at-bat from Henry Mann with the leadoff walk. And that's best case scenario for a hitter like that in those situations. Even if it ain't a hit either way, you just want to get on base after a long at-bat like that. Well, here's Grant Horsley coming up to the plate. Strikeout, left behind. Back on Tuesday. Check at first base. Gavin Guy wasn't too far away from that first base bag. Gets in there pretty well. Horsley with an on-base plus slugging of 75% so far this season. 22 hits on the year. 6 extra base hits, all of them doubles so far this season. 1-0 count. His main advantage so far has been being that relief pitcher on the mound as they check on Henry Mann again, and he gets toppled over by Cunningham at first base with that throw almost going way wide. This one curves just below the knees before it got to the plate. 2-0 count. You see, these Sailor hitters are really working these counts right now against Tanner Brown. That one's drilled to right center, into the gap. It will fall in. Mason gets to it. Henry Mann goes to third. Runners at the corners, no outs in the bottom half of the second.
Another great job right there. This is sort of what Huntington Beach was doing that you were seeing back in that first inning. They were able to get ahead in the count and get the barrel out in front of the ball right there, and he just did a good job of lifting that one, not trying to do too much with it, and just lined it perfectly out into right center field.
Yeah, a handful of times we've seen that really well-placed ball in the gaps, so to speak, in the outfield here against both sides. And with runners at the corners now, here's Brooks Francis. Fastball, got the outside corner, strike one. Tries to divvy up a slider, and it starts middle, but ends up outside in the dirt. 1-1 count against Brooks Francis. The best on-base percentage of any of the Sailors this season, a .489 on the year. Leads a team in RBIs and leads a team in doubles as he fouls off that pitch. A little bit of an early swing. 1-2 count for number 19. Fastball on the outside corner. Watch for strike three. Down goes Brooks Francis. Something you don't see very often for number 19. But that was a pretty well-placed pitch. One out here in the bottom of the second. Runners at the corners. Cameron Hatfield comes off up to the plate. Our multi-use football player in the fall season for Newport Harbor, linebacker, running back, long snapper, 3 tackles for loss and a fumble recovery in the regular season. He's trying to get the job done here. This one's fouled off over the heads of the Sailors dugout. Hatfield, even though he has a 192 batting average on the season, he has come up clutch in certain scenarios for the Sailors this season, and especially against Edison, where they walked them off 2-1 in the 8th inning back on the 27th of March. Walk-off single from Hatfield. There goes the runner. That one's in for a strike. Throw not in time. Runners, 2 of them in scoring position. Stolen base for Grant Horsley. The tying run at second base now in scoring position for the Sailors. 1 out. Hatfield in a 1-2 count. What does Brown go with here? He comes around and delivers. Fastball, ground ball, opposite side. Moriyama grabs it, throws to first, gets the out there. That scores a run for the Sailors as they cut the lead in half. 2-1, still in favor of the Oilers.
And you see right there for the Sailors doing a good job of just working the count all inning, and that's what happens when you can able to do that repeatedly. They got themselves ahead in the count, they were able to get runners on, and then they small balled their way to a run, and that's exactly what Huntington Beach did. So this is why you're already seeing another tight battle.
And we've seen that plenty of times for the last couple of games against Huntington Beach as Austin Gillis cuts through strike 1. Cuts through another one. He's behind 0-2. Tying run and 90 feet away in Grant Horsley. Gillis trying to come up big here for the Sailors early on. He's able to piece that one off. Foul ball, 0-2. That's 3 straight fastballs from Tanner Brown. Cuts through, strike 3 swinging for Gillis. Brown is able to get out of it and limit the damage to 1 run, but the Sailors able to get on the board for the first time here in the bottom of the second. Through 2-1 for the Huntington Beach Oilers. Off to the third we go here on TAR TV Sports.
Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4.
Top of the order here for Huntington Beach. Parker Leoff, Jared Greindlinger, and Eli Mason to come up to bat here. Still up by a single run. The Sailors able to get at least 1 run up on the board in a 2-1 ball game here in the top of the third inning. 2-0 count here against Parker Leoff. We'll led off the game with that leadoff double in left center field. We'll try to get on board again. That one's on the corner. Check swing. Strike 1. They clip the corner on the outside. So Williams with a little bit of leverage now, with at least a run on the board, and he's starting to get a little aggressive here against these Oilers hitters. 2-2 count against Parker Leoff. On the outside, and you see Williams a little frustrated with letting that ball go a little. It looked like it slipped off his hands, and that's something you pointed out, Colin. That ball kind of slipping out of his hands a little bit here and there.
Yeah, can't have that happen, and especially in those 2-2 counts, now falling behind.
Payoff pitch, and he falls off the mound on that delivery, and it ends up being a ball in the dirt. Full count walk for Parker Leoff. His second time on base. He's 1 for 1 with a walk. Really nice day here in Newport Harbor. 71 degrees, clear skies. Been a little bit chilly the last couple of days. A couple of clouds here and there. Rain in the weirdest way possible, but Colin, from where you've been able to come from up in Fullerton, this is much better weather than being up there in Fullerton, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just take a little half-hour drive down over towards the 55, and then you're in here, and it's a beautiful weather. Like, even with the hardly being any wind today, it's still an amazing day. I absolutely love the weather out here.
A lot of fans from both sides here in attendance at the stadium. That one's off the plate, 1-0. A bit of a meeting there between Francis and Ryan Williams. Maybe a moment there to catch his breath a little bit after falling off the mound and letting a couple balls slip out of his hand here and there. A good choice there between the two battery. That one slides across the plate but misses inside. A 2-0 count here for Jared Greindlinger. Goes upstairs outside and lays it outside, and it will be a 3-0 count here for Greindlinger. So Williams having a couple of control issues here in the top of the third inning.
Yeah, not the guy you want to fall behind to, of course. He was just behind Keone Juan as well for second in batting average in this conference.
That one clips the corner, strike one. And Williams has been very solid throughout much of this year up on the mound. But again, that third spot in the starting order has been a question. Check at first base with Parker Leoff diving back in. The Sailors were expecting a huge chunk of their pitching staff to be a big factor through the season. They have been. Their big guy, Tyler Clark, though, who's a senior this season, he was a second-team All-Sunset League last year. He was dealing with an injury for much of the year, but he is officially out for the rest of the year. Ground ball, this will be picked up by Damish, throws to first. Parker Leoff goes to second, one out here in the top of the top of the third.
Next up for the Oilers is their center fielder, number 9, Eli Mason.
Despite the outcome of the year, though, in terms of the overall missing out on their program best of a year ago with what they were able to do getting into Division I playoffs, with that 22-7 overall, 14-4 in league. And one's in there for a strike to Eli Mason with one out, top of the third inning with Parker Leoff there at second base. The Sailor teams has finished consistently the last 3 years in second place behind this Oiler team for each of the last 3 years, and you look at the way that the Oilers and what they've been able to do through the last couple of years is that one's way lined out, but a long strike for Eli Mason. You could ask Josh Lee a lot of questions, but he feels like this is as close as they have gotten to getting that Sunset League title, and they just missed it out by 1 run.
Yeah, and it's always tough to go against a team that has the experience and has the exposure in the Division I playoffs here in the southern section, but they gave them everything that they had in that second game. It's just, like I said, you can't give too much wiggle room with this team. I'd say both teams are doing a fair job in this one, but just the slight edge of doing the little things better is what has the Oilers out in front right now.
Francis pitches out, expecting Leoff to try to go take third. And that pitch was delivered upstairs, 1-2 count. What really set up the stage for what could have potentially been a Sunset League clinching game here today, Next one delivered, fly ball right field. Hatfield backing up. Couple of steps, makes the grab. Leoff won't tag up. And 2 outs here in the top of the third.
Next up, for the Oilers is their first baseman, number 23, Dane Cunningham.
That was obviously a huge second out right there as well. Did a good job. Got the bat head out in front of it, but just got under it a little bit. And, you know, that the pull side is going to be the favorite here to a lot of these left-handers. But now you got to face a guy with 3 homers on the season who is right up there with Ryan Williams for the Sunset League lead.
This Dane Cunningham with a runner in scoring position, 2 outs, top of the third. That one's in there for strike 1. Cunningham, big strike zone for that tall frame. That pitch looked like it got the top right corner of the zone.
Cunningham, another guy only behind his teammate Mason right now for the league lead in RBIs with 21 as well. So this is a guy, regardless of the situation, has always been able to come up clutch.
Tries to go with the outside fastball. Doesn't get the swing there from Dane Cunningham. And so through the last handful of games, especially notably with the Los Alamitos series for the Oilers, it looked like they were going to come away with a clean sweep against the Griffins, but that last game, losing 4-7, is what set it up for the Sailors to potentially come away with a Sunset League clinching game here today. But because of the outcome of the second game, that's why we're not talking about that. If the Sailors, though, and we can talk about what ifs all day, if they had won and swept Fountain Valley in game number 2, that one game 2-4 loss, then we would be talking about a Sunset League clinching game here today. But nonetheless, the Sailors aren't thinking about it. Ball gets away from Francis, and 90 feet goes Parker Leoff.
And, you know, you can think about a lot of the what-ifs as well, because I got the chance to watch Newport Harbor when they played at Corona Del Mar earlier in the season, and that was a game in which it was just a rough 8-1 loss. But the biggest thing is they weren't really hitting with runners in scoring position in that game. They were in total 0 for 6. It was the most runs they'd given up to Corona Del Mar in almost 2 years at that point in the season. At that point. So you think about little things like that, and it was little mistakes like wild pitches that definitely cost them.
Drilled to right center field. This will clear and get in. One hops the wall, and another run scored for the Oilers. A double from Dane Cunningham. Makes it 3-1 now, Oilers.
Just like I was saying, a guy who has been clutch all season long. Now obviously tied with his teammate Mason in the Sunset League for 22nd RBIs coming into this one. He's a guy who's just been tearing it up at the plate, and when you get ahead in the count like that, especially as a left-hander, when you get in that 3-1, you're kind of getting that little happy zone where they try to throw in right there, and you just made him pay.
You got a hard hit. Ryan Williams so far has been getting hard hits so far through the last couple of innings. That's 3 doubles now in each frame for the Oilers, and at least 1 run scored in each of the frames here for the Oilers. So they are starting to heat up a little bit here against the Sailors, and something like we've been talking about all day setting up for this game that has not happened that often through this series. 1-0 count, comes with a breaking pitch, does not come back into the zone, stays outside. 2-0 count here against Owen Bone, who flew out to right field last time.
Yeah, and you think about the theatrics that have already happened in this series. Obviously, you can't really control how you score throughout the game, but the third inning has typically not been Huntington Beach's inning, as they only have 0.3 runs on average. That's their lowest of any inning this season.
That one's in the dirt. Good stomp by Francis behind the dish. But it will be a 3-0 count. 2 outs here in the top of the third. The Oilers leading 3-1. The Sailors have averaged 4.8 runs a season this year. That's just a 1.2 behind the Sunset League leaders in the Oilers right now, and they've struck clear through here in the top of the third inning already. 3-0 delivery comes right back into the zone, strike 1, but Bone certainly was not going to go for that pitch either way. The Sailors' best inning so far this year has been that 5th inning, where they're averaging about a run, a little bit more in that 5th inning. So they'll certainly get activated once we get there, but Williams needs to get out of this one. It'll be a full count coming up for Owen Bone. Back-to-back curveballs dished out here against number 3. Expect potentially a slider here from Ryan Williams, just like he did against Jason Dunham. Payoff pitch. Drilled left field. High and fairly deep. Track. At the wall. It is caught by Whitaker. Web gem in left. Almost a home run there, and that will end the inning. A fantastic play from Noah Whitaker in left field. Well, the Oilers strike through it with another run. We'll be back here on Tar TV Sports in just a few.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today.
So we're going back to the top of the third inning with what this line drive in left field. Whitaker right at the wall. It looks like it was a home run robbery from Whitaker. An absolute web gem there. That ended the top of the third inning, but the Sailors here, first pitch swinging was popped up in the air in the infield. There's one gone here already. The Oilers get on board yet again with that RBI double from Dane Cunningham in the top of the third inning. It's 3-1 here for the Oilers early on in this game. Move back to the top of the order. One going after the first pitch. Left field. This will be off the glove of Mason in left center. One will get to second base. A one-out double for Keone One.
Keone One showing why he is the leader in batting average here in the Sunset League. Quickly jumping on that first pitch. You saw Damas try to do it and got jammed right there. That one left a little bit over the plate, and One did not miss it, because you could say he's been the one this season to lead it off.
He's been absolutely solid in the leadoff spot for the Sailors throughout the year, leading the team in batting average with a .400 batting average. Now a little bit higher now with that double. And here's our starting pitcher, Ryan Williams, with a chance to try to strike back here against Tanner Brown. He wanted a timeout before that pitch was delivered. It's in there for strike one regardless.
Yeah, I was just about to point that out. We've seen a little bit of tension so far brewing between catcher and even now the home plate umpire getting in on the mix, but that one was way too late to try to call time.
He waved it just a little bit late with his right hand. Here's the next delivery inside at the knees. Williams has to get out of the way and do a little bit of his best impressions of dancing on Saturday night. A 1-1 count here for Ryan Williams. Keone One waiting at second base. Williams would be the tying run if he can get across. This one's a cutter fastball just below the knees though, 2-1. So despite the overall, though, for the Sailors this season, a 19-8, if they can finish off, they'll be in the 20s. But you could also argue that they've also had maybe one of the toughest tournament plays in CIF Southern section, and most notably with the Boris Classic. They had to play Modern Day, Centennial Corona. They got that win there against them. Patrick Henry, who's number 38 in the state of California, and then Corona, who is number 5. But each of those ones, they've at least had a run and been very close. The one weird one was against Tribuco, but that was more of an exhibition game on their side in the Halo Classic, where they used 5 to 6 different pitchers for the Sailors. But this is still basically a win situation here for Josh Lee for what he's been able to build up from the last couple of years.
Yeah, it takes time to really build up programs as well, of course. And, with Huntington Beach sort of just running the Sunset League over this last decade, they have been a close second, like we've been saying. They finished second twice, or the last couple seasons. They've been right there as well, and they are really just kind of inching their way. This is sort of a good playoff preview, of course, depending on how the seeding goes and the results of today's games, because even for Huntington Beach, we saw they beat John Bosco as well. But from what we were hearing, the way the seeding is working, they're still near the bottom of that 16, hanging around the number 12 seed right now.
St. John Bosco, the California Southern Regional Champions of a year ago in Division 1, as William watches that one for strike 2 of the count, 2-2. One out here in the bottom of the third. A runner at second base in Keone 1. Williams gets a fastball just a little bit under it as he fouls it off to the top side of the net.
Yeah, we talk about the small ball in this game, and it's been key for both teams. I mean, you think about the already 4 runs scored, but combined, it was Dane Cunningham's hit was the only hit with a runner in scoring position thus far.
And the Oilers have been able to knock in 3 extra base hits, at least getting some key hits there in the last 3 innings. Another pitch above the zone. Williams goes after it and fouls it off again. Maybe trying to play a little bit of copycat like his teammate Henry Mann, who went for 13 pitches in that at-bat.
You beat me to it, Justin. I was just about to mention that right there. Literally, it feels just like that as well. He's finding the right pitches and just getting enough. Sometimes that's all you can do when you have somebody like Brown who's executing his pitches.
We'll see what Brown does here. He tries to change the eye level, and that pitch stays outside. Full count for Ryan Williams.
Right, and you'll take anything you can get. That one from our vantage point was as close as it could be, but just missed on the outside corner.
Full count on the way here for Williams. Inside, doesn't get the call. Full count walk for Williams, a well-watched count. The tying run will get on base here with 1 out in the bottom half of the 3rd inning, and Gavin Guy will come up to bat. Could be a chance here as well to try to get a stolen base, potentially. Keone 1 has 5 stolen bases on the year already. Williams has 3 as well. So plenty of speed at the bags here for the Sailors. Here's the first pitch to Gavin Guy. Gets one on the outside half. 1-0. And this is the right guy you want in this situation. At the 14th most home runs in the CIF Southern section last season. And he's right there, very close to that same mark. He only has 1 home run this year. That was against Centennial Corona back on the 8th of April. That one's just below the knees against Gavin Guy.
Yeah, there's so much potential with Gavin Guy. You talk about one of the UC Santa Barbara commits. And, I had the chance to be a part of the series where Fullerton played Santa Barbara, and they just breed pitchers out there. You saw Tyler Bremner got to see the number 2 pick on the mound, future number 2 pick, and you're seeing a guy like this as well who can do it on both sides. Really excited to see what he's able to do.
Watches that one for a strike, 2-1. Yeah, excellent place to be able to go play with UC Santa Barbara with the Gauchos, if I'm not wrong, and if they haven't changed that mascot name. I know conversations have been out there for that, but regardless, though, it's a great spot for Gavin Guy to land, and in this spot, hopefully he can get there. And one is going to get caught up. He's going to get chased down by Brown, going back to second. Here comes the pickle. One with plenty of speed, trying to get the third, but he'll be out anyways. And Williams occupies the bag at second base, so one really had no choice there.
And it's miscues like that we talk about, Justin, that cannot happen. Obviously, you were able to swipe up and take second for Williams to slide him up, but we talk about the issue that hitting with runners in scoring position has been nearly impossible in this series. There's been very few opportunities. Obviously, just the extra base hit that we saw from Cunningham is the only one with the runner in scoring position so far in this one, but can't make mistakes on the base paths like that. Now you to put it in a very tough situation, needing a hit now.
As we put him in a good situation, off the plate was Williams. He dives back in with his hand, just barely with the fingertip. And here comes Benji Majura, full of steam. And he is not happy about that call whatsoever. He's going to get his money worth here.
Yeah, from our vantage point, obviously I'm looking at it from a different angle. Sort of down the line right here. Looked like the hand could have potentially got in there, at least from our vantage point. You could see on the replay right there. It is a bang play. And I definitely see the argument. It's hard to tell from that angle because he kind of slid it around the back of the bag. So it's hard to tell if he really got the hand in there or if the glove kind of blocked it right there. That is very tough as somebody who officiates, not baseball, but officiates other sports. It's obviously a thankless job, so it's very tough to be on there for some of those bang plays.
No replay system here in the high school level, so they don't get the benefit of the doubt there. It's really more of whether the home plate umpire had to look on that, but same as us here behind the dish here, we don't have that same look, so it's really up to that base umpire to make that call. And if you want to say it that way, Ryan Williams definitely caught a break there.
Absolutely. Big shout out, of course, to Caden and James up there getting us that shot. It makes it a lot easier for the viewers, but that is not what it looks like in real time.
The 3-1, Williams dancing around at second base. That one's in there for a strike, and Gavin Guy thought that was going to be ball number 4. He'll have a full count with 2 outs here. And that little pickle for Keone 1 turned into a crucial out there for Tanner Brown. Not only getting the lead runner, but also getting the situation of that tying run at first base off as well. And Gavin Guy is that tying run now as he fouls off another pitch.
And it was interesting how this inning started when you look with Damish. It was a first pitch pop-up and then a first pitch double from Woon as well. So it's just interesting to see how the approaches has changed as we get into the nitty-gritty part of this bottom of the third.
So this is a big payoff pitch here for Tanner Brown. Henry Mann waiting on deck. Take this one opposite field, right to the second baseman Moriyama, who trails over, and that will end the inning. Nothing here for the Sailors, who had a couple of opportunities. Williams gets left stranded behind, and it's a 3-1 ball game still for the Huntington Beach Oilers. Through 3, we'll be back here on Target TV Sports for the top of the 4th.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today.
New pitcher on the mound for the Sailors here through 3 innings. 3-1 ball game for the Huntington Beach Oilers. It is Sam Clapp taking over for Ryan Williams. A 6.56 ERA on the season through 7 appearances this year. 10 2/3 of an inning pitched. The last time he pitched was against Fountain Valley back on the 21st and was able to get through with no runs allowed through 1 inning pitched and 3 strikeouts in that game against Fountain Valley. So Ryan Williams' day is done for now. He'll likely, though, still be a factor with the at-bats, but they're going to try to give a different look here to the Oilers. Pitch is fouled off here by Sol Sort Moriyama, who led off the 2nd inning with that double before being scored on a pass ball that got across. He was the 2nd run of the game for the Oilers.
Yeah, and we talked about Moriyama, who's kind of the announcer's jinx right there, was able to get himself going with that double that he had. And obviously after a tough month of April where he went just 8 for 36, did collect those nearly half of his RBIs in that month. But it was good to see him kind of just get on one right there and just do a really nice job of driving the ball. We've seen that a couple times on these doubles. They have not been trying to do too much, just been getting the barrel out in front.
He's got a 1-2 count here, and he cuts through one. Sam Clapp. Strikeout here against Sol Soriyama. Sam Clapp comes in, delivers a backwards K, and that's 1 out here in the top of the 4th inning. Sailors trying to hold the Oilers here just to 2 runs. They have scored in each of the last 3 frames on 3 hits. First pitch upstairs is a ball to Tanner Brown, our starting pitcher for the Oilers, who just gone out of the last inning. A little bit of help from his infield defense. Line drive from Gavin Guy, which was almost going opposite field. And Moriyama, who just struck out, made that play. And this one's pulled through the infield gap into right field. Tanner Brown with a base hit.
It's a nice little slap hit right there, pulling it through the 3-4 hole on the right side. And Tanner Brown finds himself aboard. And I was going to mention with Clapp, the one thing that he's got to work on is the command. You talk about the strikeout volume. We just saw his 12th one, but he has allowed 11 free passes this year with the walk. So you got to be careful with that as well, but they do have a pinch runner coming in for Brown.
Yeah, Luke Crespo will come in and pinch run for Tanner Brown on the mound, probably just to give Tanner Brown a little bit of some time to rest up before having to come back out on the mound. So essentially a courtesy runner here for Tanner Brown.
I would say he's more than earned that.
Yeah, certainly, for sure. Big hack comes up empty here for Charlie Henderson, strike 1.
That was an absolute disgusting pitch right there. You saw the horizontal break on that one and just had him out in front of it. It's a few times that we've seen that today, but huge credit to Huntington Beach, but they've done a really good job. That was the first time we've really seen him just trying to chase on the first pitch.
That one is inside. That's in fair. Throw to first in time. Nice play from Henry Mann from third base. Across the diamond. Crespo moves to second base on that play, but there's 2 outs here in the top of the 4th.
And that play's a lot tougher than it looks. You talk about the turf you mentioned a couple years ago when they switched over in the dirt surface that they used to have, and that was a very tough hop right there off the turf, and that's one of the things that playing on turf does. You see it in the old Rogers Center, what they used to have. The ball would bounce a lot, so that play was a really tough one over in the hot corner, so great job to stick with it.
The first pitch, the slider off the plate here for Jason Dunham, who struck out swinging last time, his first at bat. Runner at second base in Luke Crespo, 2 outs here in the top of the 4th. This field here at Stuart Fine Field, the transition from the dirt to this turf field, fully turf field, by the way, or all the way up until the outfield grass before it turns into natural, I believe. But the big thing there is, you used to play on the dirt, and like you said, the Rogers Center, a lot of those balls will bounce, so it's a misjudgment for a lot of teams who typically play in the traditional baseball field. The Sailors know how it works, and it's very clear, especially from that play from Henry Mann. He knows how to play those hoppers pretty well in the infield. Drill to left. Over the head of Whitaker. He won't get to it. One hops off the wall. Crespo will score easily from second base. 4-1 ball game now off the RBI double from Jason Dunham.
That is a beautiful ball right there. You saw him really lift that one as well. I mean, that is the second 2-out RBI double we've seen, and their second hit with a runner in scoring position. And it's the ability to keep innings alive like that, and that's really what is going to keep them going forward. I mean, this is the most offense we've seen from either one of these teams this entire series, and it's the ability to stick with it that is really going to get them the job done.
And the Oilers certainly getting their looks here. That's their 4th double of the game, and the 4th time they've scored at least a run in each of the frames. That pitch is tipped into the glove off Parker Leoff, strike 1. Reached on base at all times today with a walk and a double that started off the game. He's scored twice already today. He's got a runner at second base in Jason Dunham. 4-1 here in the top of the 4th. And Sam Clapp wants a pause here before throwing this pitch. Comes up with the breaking pitch. Front door slider comes right back into the zone, 0-2. So the Sailors, this might become a wake-up call here if they can't get a 0 on the board in the next half inning against the Oilers. They're certainly going to have to start figuring out how to get alive with their at-bats here. Clapp checks at second base, a throw over the head of Jason Dunham, who gets back in there. Grant Horsley covering the bag at shortstop position.
And you're seeing unlikely heroes come through in this one with Dunham, of course. It was 0 for 6 coming into that AB after that first one, and you see other guys like Moriyama as well. It's these guys that weren't hitting this series that are starting to really come through.
That ball gets away from Francis, and Dunham's going to get another 90 feet on the pass ball. And boy, we've seen that a handful of times through this game, and those have costed the Sailors time and time again through this series.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a little bit of miscommunication, but we talk about the turf on the field, and it plays such a big role, especially for the catcher. It's so hard when they throw it and they spike it in the ground and throw it like 58 feet. It's so hard to get the backside up in the arm, and you see it right here.
That one's a little underhand catch there by Francis on that pitch. 2-2 count here for Parker Leoff. And like you said, especially with the turf field, it makes it not only different for the infielders, but different for the catcher when it comes off the ground like that. You typically have a little bit more give with the dirt. Drill to right center field, backing up one at the wall. It will take off the wall. Another double back-to-back and another run scored. 5-1 for the Oilers.
Justin, there's just not much you can say other than just pure wow right now. Look at them just getting out in front of these pitches right now, working great counts, and every single time they're just finding the gaps, and that's how you know you're perfect in your timing. The balanced kind of tempo that they have at the dish is really helping them out right now, and it's a huge credit to what they're able to do, especially from a lot of these left-handers.
And they're really sitting on a lot of these breaking pitches, a lot of them starting at the top, coming into the zone and just sitting well with those pitches. Francis stops the ball in the dirt here against Jason Greindlinger. And now you start to worry a little bit here if you're a Newport Harbor Sailor fan, because they're getting into the chunk of the lineup here despite having 2 outs in this inning, but this game's starting to get a little bit away from the Sailors right now. Back-to-back doubles, now 5 doubles in this game for the Oilers. They continue to impress in the extra base hit department. We talk about unlikeliest of heroes when it comes to this Oilers team, as that one is in there right at the knees of Greindlinger. We talked about Dane Cunningham's double just there coming up in clutch, but that walk-up performance against back on April 9th to that double that scored Eli Mason in a 2-1 score. As this one's high up in the air, close to that left field line, and that is just barely foul. Very close, and looks like Huntington Beach wanted that one to be a fair ball. And little bit closer to that left field line. Home plate umpire running down the line to see where that ball falls in. And again, like you said, limited number of umpires, not a lot of eyes, more of a bang-bang type of deal.
Exactly, and that ball, I was impressed that it even stayed fair with how much he got under it, sort of on the inner part of the bat. Usually those ones kind of just tail off towards the end, and that one just kept going. We talk about there not being a lot of wind today, even though we're near the Orange County coastline, and that one just barely by inches. They do say it's a game of inches, and they came through in that situation.
We'll see how this comes back to bite Grindlinger here. 2-2. It's in there. Strike 3 called. Looking. Bit of a delayed call, but that will go in favor of the Sailors. The Oilers have scored 2 more here in the top of the 4th. Bottom half of the 4th coming up 5-1 for Huntington Beach.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today. The Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump.
Just about halfway through this game here in the bottom of the 4th. 2 more runs for Huntington Beach. Makes it 5-1. And leading off is Henry Mann, Grant Horsley, and then Brooks Francis for the Sailors. Needing a little bit of some urgency here in the bottom of the 4th against Francis, who has been pretty solid. This is blooped into shallow left field. Found a perfect spot on the first pitch for Henry Mann, on board with the leadoff single.
Complete opposite of what we saw in that first AB, a near 12 pitch at bat where he worked the walk and then quickly just dunks one down the left field line right there. Kind of got jammed a little bit. Normally those don't always go in your favor, but for Newport Harbor, they're going to take whatever they can get at this point.
You could clearly tell Henry Mann was having none of that at-bat right there after going for 13 total pitches in his previous at-bat. He's going to get checked on by Tanner Brown again. This is his 4th inning of work now. His 4th hit given up here against the Sailors. Only 1 run allowed so far. And 1 strikeout against Newport. Horsley fouls off the first pitch on the backstop. Like you said, anything you can get right now here for the Sailors. If they want to climb back into this one, no outs, runner at first. Another check at first base. Francis on deck here for the Sailors. Waiting his turn to try to do some damage here. There's a cutter right back to Leoff. Throws to second, over to first. In time. 5-4-3 double play that eliminates 2 threats here for the Sailors.
Next up for your Sailors is
And you're just getting the sense that you're running out of time right now. Obviously, it's still in the midway part of this game, but right now you do not want to be rolling over on some of these pitches like you saw right there, but it was a good credit to a very good defense that was just able to turn a very nice 5-4-3 from deep in that hot corner and completely wiping out any sort of momentum.
No one's lined the other way. Same spot, just like Henry Mann, and a diving grab made out in left field by Henderson. A 1-2-3 inning, essentially, for the Oilers defense. And that puts another 0 on the board for the Sailors through 4. 5-1 still the score here on Tar TV Sports.
F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 Power Boost Hybrid.
This ended the last frame here for the Sailors. A fantastic play from Henderson out in left field. Very similar spot from what Henry Mann did with that blooper single in left field, but that's just been a theme so far in this game. Web gems all the way around, but the difference, a lot of really good hits here from the Oilers so far.
Absolutely, and the Oilers, everything is clicking for them right now. They're like a well-oiled machine, you could say, Justin. But that one was a great play right there. Henderson had a great beat on it, and you were talking about he's a guy who's mainly been a pinch runner through most of the season. Hardly has had a lot of opportunities, so when he jumps in there, he's going to make sure he takes advantage of it, and that was a key momentum stopper. They just had the double play. That's a great way to potentially end a two-out rally.
And so far, the only thing that's been making a difference has been those hits like we talked about and some of those pass balls for the Sailors. So Sam Clamp, another inning of work after taking over for Ryan Williams, will try to come away through the chunk of the order for the Oilers. Eli Mason, Dane Cunningham, and Owen Bone here, the 3-4-5 hitters for the Oilers. They have scored in each of the frames here on the scoreboard thus far. The breaking pitch, that one's off the end of the bat for Eli Mason. 1-1 is the count. There's the next delivery, a fastball upstairs, just off the mark. The previous month in April, 19 for 42 with that home run in game number 2, 15 RBIs and 9 runs. He's been solid for this Oilers team in this last stretch of the regular season. That is off the plate, just barely, it seems like. A 3-1 count here on Eli Mason.
Yeah, this is interesting. You talk about the 5 runs has kind of been the benchmark for them. They have not lost a game this season when they have scored at least 5 runs. You see them working great counts right there with the walk. Funny enough, the only one that wasn't a win was their tie against Loyola to start the season. But you look at it for the rest of the way, they are a 11-0, 12-0-1 when they get 5 or more runs. But once they've gotten that 6th run, like I said, they are 11-0. So like you're really running out of time right now if you're Newport.
Yeah, they're only going to get 3 more chances here in this game to try to get the bats alive here. The Sailors have had their chances so far in this game, but just haven't been able to come away with a couple of runners on base through the last couple of frames. That one's strike 1 for Dane Cunningham, who we were talking about early on with that RBI double that scored at Parker Leoff in the 3rd inning. Rolls this one over to the Oilers bench. Foul ball. You got to give a lot of credit here to Benji Midjord. You can clearly tell that he has a certain passion for all these guys in developing the program. And look at the size of these guys too. A lot of these guys around 6 foot or so, but very well built. Like you said, well-oiled machine.
Exactly, Justin. You know, like, I would say I'm a relatively tall person, but when I'm next to these dudes, it's so intimidating because these are high schoolers who are absolutely like well-built, and you can tell how well that they're trained and how well that they're disciplined as well. And Coach Madure has done that as well. And he's surrounded himself with such an amazing staff. I mean, you look at some of the names that he's brought along with him. Of course, Jason Clark was one of his key assistant coaches. And then James, as he goes by Rusty McNamara, he was a longtime friend and assistant coach. And he even brought on Adam Springston, who's a very good pitching coach, who, funny enough, was the former coach of Jared Weaver way back in his days at Simi Valley.
That's a nice little tidbit there for you. Well, Southern California has kind of been this epicenter of some really good talent that have come through the ranks here. And most notably El Toro High School, with the type of alumni that have come through there. And you would think if you had no knowledge about baseball, you would not have thought that the players that have come through that program are now in the MLB.
Yeah, and you look at the team like Harvard Westlake that they lost to in 8 innings. One of their few losses on the season. That's also pitched so many big leaguers. You think about Jack Flaherty and all those other guys.
One hopped, grabbed up there by Mann, throws a first. Another solid play by the 3rd baseman. At least gets one. Eli Mason will move over to second base. Here's Owen Bone, who, would you say, got robbed of a home run in the third inning, his last time up, by Noah Whitaker right at the wall, who took all of that force at that age of Newport Harbor listed out there in left field. So Owen Bone will certainly be trying to not go his direction this time around, but you could also say that that also helped keep this game somewhat in striking distance. It only takes a grand slam for the Sailors to get back in, but that is yet to be seen until we get to the bottom half of the fifth. The Sailors will have the bottom of the order coming up in the bottom of the fifth inning with Hatfield, Gillis, and Damish at the bottom of the order. Near check swing, that one's in the zone regardless. 0-1 to start off against Owen Bone. .338 batting average with 2 home runs so far this season. Almost had number 3 earlier. This one's rolled over. Gloved by Horsley, has to make a 360 turn to make that play. He won't get it in time. A nice showing there from the shortstop, but it's an infield hit anyways.
Next up for the Oilers is their
that ball had eyes right there, Justin. Didn't quite get through at the end, but the turf monster did a little bit of work right there. But huge credit to Owen Bone, and somebody who I'm very much excited to see, as he's obviously committed to CBU in the offseason and a future Big West opponent.
Cal Baptist is a very good program out there in San Bernardino. Would you say a lot of really good programs out there? You know, you talk about Cal Poly Pomona, who were the Division II champs at one point. A lot of good players have come out of those programs, including even Division III players as well. Like you talk about Redlands University. And a lot of those other schools, California basically is just an epicenter of really good players.
Yeah, this is the hub for high school baseball, of course, and this is one of the teams right here, and it's an absolute treat for us to be here today and witness really just what Huntington Beach has been able to do this season.
1-0 count here on Sol Moriyama. Watches a fastball just below the knees. 2-0. The corners are loaded up here. First and third. 1 out, 2-0 count on Sol Moriyama. Got to be careful here. Already a double and a run scored. Struck out swinging last time. Looking to do some damage here against Sam Clapp. He goes for the outside corner, just off as well. 3-0 count. And this would potentially load up the bases for the starting pitcher, Tanner Brown, who's on deck right now. Oiler dugout getting a little loud. That one gets away from Francis. Bone moves over to second base, but it's a walk anyways, and the bases are loaded here for Tanner Brown.
And next up for the Oilers is their pitcher.
You're talking about the control issues with Clapp. Had 11 walks coming in, now the 2 in this one up to 13, and really have to be careful here. You know, a huge credit to Moriyama, though. I've absolutely loved his approach, and it's a guy who I mentioned had just 8 hits in the month of April, already has a double in this one, like you mentioned, and the walk. He's been really good, and he's been sort of the antithesis of what the pitching staff that you see from Newport Harbor, and they've been able to sort of limit a lot of those of recent. But this is a very patient, very poised team, and that's why they're able to keep getting on base every single inning.
And you said it right there, and you look at the stat line, on-base percentage for Huntington Beach of 408, a slugging percentage of 433. Look, this is a team that does not get out that very often. Collectively, a batting average of 305 on the season, and you can see they're taking full advantage against not the best pitchers for the Sailors, but certainly the guys who are trying to build up to be the best guys. And right now, with Sam Clapp up on the mound, he's in a very, very precarious spot against Tanner Brown. 1 out, bases loaded. Delivers strike 1 on the breaking pitch after the meeting with Coach Josh Lee, who came out to the mound to check on. Don't see much movement in the bullpen here for the Sailors, though.
Now, right here, it's going to be interesting to see where he tries to go. Really want to keep the ball low so he doesn't try to get under it.
That one would look pretty close to being in the zone there, but Brown pulls on it and fouls it off down the first base line. This would be a big pitch here for Sam Clapp. Charlie Henderson awaiting on deck. A strikeout and a ground out for his first 2 ABs. So this is the big out here that Clapp needs to get. Top fifth, 0-2. Bases loaded. Center field. Backing up is 1. He will make the grab. 2 runners tag up. 1 more will score. And it is a 6-1 ball game for the Oilers. Mason scores on the sacrifice fly from the starting pitcher. But as we'll say with Sam Clapp, we'll certainly take that. The ball gets away from Sam Clapp. Here comes the runner, and the ball was offline of Clapp. Another one will come around. Not sure what happened there on the exchange with the ball coming back into the pitcher's mound, but Clapp let the ball roll away, and Francis was not ready for it. And it looked like he would have been able to get the play there at home plate, but the ball bounced out of Clapp's glove, and it's now a 6-1 ball game, or a 7-1 ball game rather.
Yeah, you just can't make little mistakes like that. As I was getting ready to mark the scorebook right here, it was quickly how much they were able to get another run on right there. It was a very weird exchange, but that just shows the attentiveness that Huntington Beach has just to understand that situation.
So the situation becomes deeper in what could have been somewhat a worst case scenario type of situation there. And check the replay here. This was the sacrifice fly from Tanner Brown. Let's watch the exchange here. They just got caught sleeping somewhat. I'm not sure what happened there exactly. A ball up in the air, and it's caught in right field by Hatfield. Well, the damage has been done here in the top of the 5th inning. Oilers tack on 2 more, making it 7-1 as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning here on Tar TV Sports.
I literally went.
Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today.
So let's see, this was that play that allowed that extra run to come by, and my best guess would be it looked like the ball was coming into, is that Williams right there at the mound, or was it someone, Clapp there just didn't look at the ball and it got all the way behind him. Even miscue.
And we talked about it with the 5th run, and obviously the 6th run really being the benchmark, having not lost a single game, and they'd already done that, and then you just give them another one right there. And that's just clear miscommunication. We talk about the sun playing a factor, but I don't even really think you can make the case for that one right there if you're trying to be optimistic. If you're Newport Harbor, I think it was just clear miscommunication. You always have to make sure that they're looking at you. I mean, just simple mistakes like that can't happen.
Absolutely, especially against the top team, arguably here in the CIF Southern Section Division 1. outside of the Trinity League, obviously. 1-1 count here for Cam Hatfield. Here, bottom of the order for the Sailors, in the bottom of the 5th. And the clock is ticking here as they're into crunch time right now. They try to come away with a chance to eke out over the Oilers here as Hatfield has to get out of the way. The ball was coming in. The new pitcher, Jared Marksbank, won a new ball there. He's taking over for Tanner Brown after going for 4 innings. And he will try to hold the Sailors to just a run. 2-2 count here for Cam Hatfield. So not exactly the outcome that most people would have expected here in this one, but the Oilers, there's a reason why they're the best. High over the top, and Hatfield took it. Strike 3, down goes number 33.
Yeah, that was not a good hack at it right there. I mean, that was a breaking pitch that almost looked like it was trying to backdoor. It kind of leaked its way back over to the middle of the plate. But Hatfield kind of looked like he was just sitting on it for a little bit and then decided last second to kind of go after it. Was way behind on it, and surprised he would kind of want to offer it that. But that is a good job of kind of messing with the hitter's eye level.
As the young kids say, the brain destroyer. Austin Gillis comes up to bat here, comes in with an inside pitch and comes up empty. Pinch hitter here for the Sailors instead. That one's inside just below the knees. It's Dylan Tucci, the freshman, taking over for Austin Gillis. Coach Josley trying to get some of his younger guys here into play. That one's fouled off the pole in the backstop. So Tucci, who is one of the 3 catchers, the main catchers here for the Sailors, he's pinch hitting here with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. 1-2 count. That one's off the plate. Good eye there from the young freshman. This is also something that Coach Josley also does very well, is bringing these really good freshman recruits, and when they find gems, they find a lot of gems. And most notably Grant Horsley, who's played shortstop all of his career. Keone won, he's only a sophomore, but he played on varsity in just his freshman year. Gavin Guy, Ryan Willems, the list just continues to go on, and Dylan Tucci is a part of that group. A lefty batter, hits for power, and originally was working his way back from a football injury early on in the season. But again, another one of these talented freshmen that Coach Josh Lee is trying to bring up amongst the ranks and establish basically a pipeline here for the Sailors. That one's in the dirt. Very good at bat there by Dylan Tucci. Full count walk with 1 out.
Batting for number 22, Oren Davish, is number 4, Cole Harrison.
Another pinch hitter coming up. Cole Harrison, the junior, will take over for Oren Damish.
And we were talking about, of course, just the recruiting coming in for Josh Lee as well. I mean, it's a team that's comprised of 12 seniors right now, and you've got so many people that are already committed to these. You got a CBU commit over on Huntington Beach. You have UC Santa Barbara. I mean, a lot of these players are so talented and already going to be taking their talents. You have UCLA transfers, and he was able to bring in, like you said, 3 different players as well. And it's just a huge credit to him as well, what he's been able to do. And it's important when you're going to have such a high turnover of players to be able to try to spotlight. And this is a good time for these young guys to get that action.
Well, certainly in the offseason, that will be a conversation to be had with in terms of what kind of players will come through here. And you see, like you said, the modern day guys who have come through here. Max Hamrock, who's also a Santa Margarita transfer, a senior this season, but the tell of it says so, as Josh Lee bringing in these players. And with the record and the history that the Sailors have had through the last couple years, this is a program you certainly would want to play for if you just can't make it in at the Trinity level. That's a ball in the dirt. 3-1 here for Cole Harrison. And Newport historically has never really been known for their baseball. I mean, they haven't had a Sunset League title since 1948. Very long away from where we are now, obviously, but Josh Lee has really changed the face of this program. Ground ball, gloved up by Dunham. Fantastic Turns around in time. A wet gem from Dunham.
All I can say is wow right there. I mean, that ball was literally going away from his body. The ability to kind of dive, stick with that, and be able to get enough on that. And also a huge credit as well on the pick over at first base. I mean, that is not an easy play at all. And that is key because obviously they would have had the double play in order, but that takes away a potential rally starter with the top of the lineup coming up now.
So they turn over the lineup, and very esque of one of the best in the MLB, arguably up there in Anaheim with Zach Neto. This one's drilled in the first pitch to right field. This will be caught on a running grab by Owen Bone. And that will end the inning. The Sailors have 2 more chances coming up in the 6th and 7th inning here on Tar TV Sports. It's a 7-1 ball game for the Oilers.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford.
Through 5 innings, it's all been Oilers so far. 7-1 is your score here for Huntington Beach against the Newport Harbor Sailors at home. First pitch in there for a strike on Jason Dunham, who has had himself a pretty good day today with that RBI double back in the 4th inning and scoring a run on the RBI double by Parker Leoff in tandem. New pitcher on the mound for the Sailors is Leighton Toribio on the mound. He'll take over for Sam Clapp. He worked through two innings here, and it's crunch time here for the Sailors, and Toribio is going to try to at least hold the Oilers back as much as possible. 2-1 count for Jason Dunham. Well, the story goes like this. The Sailors would essentially clinch a Division I playoff spot if they're able to come away with a 6-run comeback in this game and somehow win this one against the Oilers. But it's still a question up in the air. If they lose this game, then it kind of depends on the committee to determine whether they play in the Division II playoffs, which is a 32-team bracket, or Division I, which is a 16-team bracket. And surely for Coach John Schlee, who has already achieved the ladder at the Division II level, would want to get the Sailors team back into the Division I playoffs in back-to-back years. Full count here for Jason Dunham. Dunham lays this one to center field. One sits under it, makes the grab. One gone here in the top of the 6th.
The top of the lineup for Huntington Beach, number 10, third baseman Parker Leoff.
And for this Newport team, when they won the CIF State Regional title back in 2022, they were essentially a Division II squad in that bracket, winning 5-1 over Oaks Christian. They had lost to Oaks Christian in the semifinals of the CIF Southern section bracket, losing 2-3. So getting revenge on that Oaks Christian team that year. But like we said, if you want to climb the ladder, you've got to improve every single year. And Coach Josh Lee has certainly done that through the last few seasons. But right now it's tough to say where the Sailors would land here if they can't come away with a win. 1-2-0 count here on Parker Leaf at the back top of the order. 2 for 2 today with 2 doubles, 2 runs, and an RBI. Another fantastic day for number 10. That one's off the plate.
Yeah, and you were talking about, or rather we've both been kind of mentioning that some of these other guys, you see Coach Major right there as well, kind of looming over in that dugout. It's been some of these other guys who have been struggling that have really had these big hits in the moment. You talk about the 2 extra base hits so far. A guy who just had 9 hits in the entire month of April, still only has 1 RBI on the season coming into this one. The power hasn't really been there all year as a kind of a contact guy, but could potentially be match a season high 3 hits, something he did back on March 31st against Corona Del Mar.
We've got a 3-2 count here with 1 out here in the top of the 6th inning. Toribio comes around, fires, breaking pitch that's fought off by Parker Leoff. Toribio has 1 win on the season, still has a clear ERA, win against Woodcrest Christian back on February 23rd. 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts against 8 different batters in a relief effort. One's in the dirt, and it's a full count walk for Parker Leoff. He will get on board for the 4th time today.
Next up for the Oilers is the designated hitter, number 28, Jared Bridlinger.
You see how loaded this Huntington Beach team is. 11 active roster players committed to Division I programs. As pitches in the dirt, Francis keeps it in front here against Jared Grindlinger. Starts off with a 1-0 count. Breaking pitch starts middle, comes and he clips the outside corner. Strike 1 of the count, 1-1 count. The Sailors team has had a lot of really good success throughout the year, and it certainly is a lockdown spot there for Gavin Guy and Keaton Anderson at the starting pitcher positions. Runner goes. That's a strike. And the throw off line. And a stolen base there for Parker Leoff. One-two count here for Jared Grindlinger. This is the 2nd straight year the Sailors have finished with 19-plus wins, though it'll probably stay 19 right now with the score on the board, as well as 3rd in the last 5 years. This one's up the middle, taken by Horsley. He'll throw to first for the 2nd out.
Next up for the Oilers is their center fielder, number 9.
And good job to kind of get Grindlinger to get on top of that one right there. I mean, you're kind of seeing it a lot with the way he pitches on the mound as well. Kind of has that lower, the more linear release point, and he's really trying to spin. Doesn't have the highest velocity, so he has to be really careful. He has a huge advantage against lefties right here, but you see them kind of getting the hard contact when he's not been able to get some of these off-speed pitches. Obviously, that one painting on the outside corner, and a very dangerous kind of game that you're playing against a very power-slugging team. But so far, he's looked good in this inning, just trying to keep him on the ground.
He has looked good so far in just the handful of appearances that he's made throughout the season. His last one was against Tropico Hills High School back on the 11th of April. That one's off the plate, 1-1 count. Just 1 inning pitch, but managed to, although no strikeouts, give up 2 walks, but it was enough to at least hold the line against Tropico Hills, despite an interesting loss there, 0-8. That's in there in the zone, 1-2.
Yeah, and Trabuco Hills is one of those teams where look at the offense and it doesn't quite impress you, but it's their pitching that's really tough. I mean, they have below almost at least a 2-run lower ERA than the national average, so that's why they had such a tough time in that game.
That one is going to get down, and another one is going to score for the Oilers. An extra base here attempt for Eli Mason, but reached a little too far. The run will score regardless, and it will be 8-1 for Huntington Beach. Here on Tar TV Sports, 2 more chances for the Sailors.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hogue Orthopedic.
2, 3, 4 hitters coming up here for the Sailors, and it will be basically 6 more outs before the Oilers cap off this series win here. Up 8-1. Another run scored by Eli Mason's RBI single, and that's the 3rd time that Parker Leoff has scored here today, and it's 8-1 for the Oilers as they're running away with this thing ever so more. Ryan Williams, 1-1 count. Takes this one the opposite field, but it'll hang up for Bone in right field.
That sort of feels like the narrative of this game there, Justin. They finally are able to get a good piece right there and just line it right towards right field, and sometimes things just aren't going your way, even when you're putting the right things in play.
The game of baseball is such an intriguing sport in that regards. Never know what's going to be the result. That ball gets away from Pluma. No one's on base, so it's a 1-0 count for Gavin Guy. Well, the Sailors team, despite a loss here today, as it is right now, it's been a highlighted season for them so far this year, and with the amount of seniors that they have on this roster, you just got to feel like they would be the front runners if they end up being in the Division II playoffs to pretty much run away with that thing. But if they somehow find their way in the Division I playoffs, it could be that sneaky underdog that no one really expects them to get that far. There's a 1-1 count on the way upstairs for a ball. With Huntington Beach on line for the win here, this would be a clear case that they would be a strong candidate in the Division I playoffs. This one inside, taken by Leoff. Throw goes wide of first base. This will be an extra bag here for Gavin Guy. So an infield single and an extra base on the error by the third baseman.
Next up for your Sailors is your third baseman, number 18, Henry Mann.
So something you don't see very often from this Huntington Beach team. An error on the board. Sailors trying to eke out a late rally here. Runner at second, Gavin Guy, and here comes Henry Mann up to the plate.
Yeah, you're talking about a rare error, over a .971 fielding percentage coming into this one, and just trying to do a little bit too much right there on that play. Obviously had the chance to get him right there.
Line to center, caught by Mason. And Guy will stay at second base. couple liners here in this inning, but they have pretty much been a hit right to the Oilers outfielders here in this one. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Here's Grant Horsley up to the plate. Horsley, one of those guys we've talked about through much of this broadcast, a freshman at shortstop position throughout his entire career as he swings through one. .22 hits on the year, looking for at least one here to keep this game alive. Rolls this one over. One hop taken by Leoff. He'll throw to first, and that will settle another threat for Newport. 8-1 still through 6 in total. The final frame coming up here on Tar TV Sports.
Ford F-150 Hybrid 4x4 has an estimated range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow more than 11,000 pounds. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
Legendary number 2, Coach Altobelli, one of the most legendary coaches in Orange Coast College and maybe one of the most impactful coaches in this area. And the list goes long for this Newport Harbor program. A Newport Harbor graduate in 1981 was Coach John Altobelli. And while at OCC, Coach Josh Lee played under Coach Altobelli. Unfortunately, he lost his life in that helicopter crash with Kobe Bryant right before the COVID pandemic. But you can clearly tell, despite what it's looked like through this long history of the Newport Harbor Sailors, obviously baseball hasn't been a very deep program, but you can see that Coach Josh Lee understands that history. And despite the outcome here today, it's been a great career tenured for Coach Josh Lee as the head coach of this program. Here in the top of the 7th, last frame of the regular season coming up for the Sailors. And it will be Dane Cunningham, Owen Bone, and Sol Moriyama to finish things off here in this game. And Caden Leifer will take over in the final frame. Brain Destroyer right behind Dane Cunningham. It'll be ball 1. I'll let that ball go just a little bit. Leo Aguilar is on deck right now behind, taking over for Owen Bone here in this game. Line down the Oilers dugout and foul. So Huntington Beach has one more game on the 5th against GAR. The playoffs would start on May 12th for the CIF, and that would be determined later on where both teams would fall in exactly in the bracket. The Sailors will definitely be trying to work as much as possible for that outcome. Popped up in the air, first base side. is taken by Guy, or Williams rather, for the first down at the top of the 7th. And Leo Aguilar steps in, a 500 average in 7 games this season, 1 run so far. Interesting fact, knows how to speak 3 different languages. Cut across, strike 1 as he takes over for Owen Bone. It's something most people can't really do, or say they can, is speak 3 different languages. I know I've tried, but there's a reason why I'm sitting here in this booth speaking English to you.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I cannot speak just one language for me. It was a big culture shock when I went to Italy earlier this year, and there's surprisingly a lot of people that know how to speak English, and it just shows the lazy Americans that we are. But it definitely is funny because I was actually about to mention he can one-up Sol Moriyama as well, because he's somebody who can speak bilingual. He's fluent in Japanese, so always have to have one teammate that can one-up you.
Strike 3. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Down goes Leo Aguilar swinging. That's the 2nd out. That's something that I'm trying to strive to do, is actually learn Japanese heritage, half Japanese, half Chinese. So at least there's someone in the building that has made their parents proud in that department. 2 outs here in the top of the 7th. That's fouled off by Sol Moriyama, or rather the pinch hitter here in Tommy August. But does that make you Italian too, Costigan?
No, it actually is Irish.
Irish,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I know it does have a little bit of an Italian ring to it, but I think my my very blonde hair would give that away that I'm not Italian.
Well, it's a very beautiful culture, and if you spent your time out there, I'm guessing a lot of wine, a lot of pasta, a lot of good food in general.
Yeah, you know, it's surprisingly good, and the one thing I can say about them is that they actually know how to make food without preservatives, unlike America, so it's a huge credit.
Flied up in the air, 1 is backing up, very close to the warning track. He'll still make the grab regardless. Well, it's a 1-2-3 inning for the Sailors. A pretty good note there for the defense to end on, but despite that, still down by 7 runs. Off to the final half of this game here on TAR TV Sports.
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4. With an estimated driving range of around 700 miles and the muscle to tow up to 11,200 pounds. It's tough, it's fuel efficient, it's a hybrid that gets the job done. Get the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid with 0.9% APR financing and start saving at the pump. Hurry in today.
At Hoag Orthopedic Institute, there's no one better at getting you back to you. Orthopedics and spine, it's all we do.
The Ford F-150, a workhorse with the power to take on anything. From California's best-selling truck brand. Now you can lease the Ford F-150 STX for only $359 a month. Just $359. Hurry in today.
Final frame here for the Sailors if they can't eke out 7 runs. Down 8-1 here against the Oilers. New pitcher on the mound, and Mason Tapia. 1.91 ERA. Enjoys bacon and egg sandwiches in his morning before every game. So we'll see how that works for him as this one is popped up off the net. Again, that net coming in as a factor in this game. The pinch hitter here is Chance Bolding, the senior playing in his final regular season game as a senior of this program. He's only the ASB senior class president of Newport Harbor High School. His only pinch ran, though, in one game with 1 run scored. And is in there for strike 2. He's taking over for Brooks Francis here. And the Sailors have their backs on the wall here, but really seem like they're going to have a easy time trying to make a long comeback here against, Mason Tapia, rather. Fastball, strike 3, down goes Bolden.
That was a great payoff pitch right there from Tapia. A guy who does have a high strikeout volume. That was now his 18th so far. He had 7 Ks last month in his 8 innings of work, but has that sub-2 ERA for a reason. The only issue has been the command in his sort of higher, middle leverage outings. He's walked 10 batters so far this season, and so far he was able to kind of grind his way through and really set the tone in the, hopefully, what is their last 3 batters they have to face.
And 2 more outs here for Huntington Beach to close out the regular season here for the Sailors. Leo Rochberger will take over, takes this one to right field. Bone trailing over to his right and makes the grab. 1 more out here for the Sailors. Dylan Tucci will come back up. He pinched hit back in the 5th inning with a walk after taking over for Austin Gillis. 1 more out here for the Sailors. First pitch in there for a strike. It's been a great season here on Tar TV Sports. We'll have plenty of playoff coverage in multiple different sports throughout the schedule. And depending of which, with their schedule, check swing is strike 2 on Dylan Tucci. Final strike here for the Sailors. So either that will be me, Zachary Durham, Zachary Gretsch, who you know very well, Colin Costigan, who's joining us here as well, and of course, Taryn Rodriguez, as always. It's a nice lineup to have, and just like Coach Josh Lee has his fantastic lineup, Tar TV Sports has a fantastic lineup. Strike 3, looking, down goes Dylan Tucci, and that's the ball game. Huntington Beach will close out the season 8-1 on this one here today and finish with 20 wins on their stat line. 26-1. The Sailors will finish the season 19-8 in the regular season, and they will await on what the determination from the committee is for the CIF playoffs.
Yeah, today was one of those ones that definitely want to put behind you if you're Newport Harbor, but for Huntington Beach, it's a huge credit. I mean, we talk about the amazing pitching staff that they have. You saw it today from Tanner Brown, the TCU commit. But, I mean, you also have Gridlinger as well, who was the #1 sophomore pitcher in America. We didn't see him today, but the way he can throw, I mean, he's already throwing in the mid to high, or like the low to mid 90s, and you have something like that. And Coach Madura as well. We talked about the staff that he's built up. There's a reason why they keep winning every single year. And the secret to his success, of course, is the program he built. I mentioned a lot of the accolades and a lot of the people he's brought over with him. And you can kind of see it feels like a coach-led team, but it also feels like a player-led team as well. These guys know when to step up. They know when to really be a leader for these younger guys. And that's huge when you have a bunch of turnover like both of these teams are going to have at the conclusion of the season, regardless of what the playoffs hold.
And rightly said there, and you look at the Sailors team on the other side, they've seen this Huntington Beach and team, and you've seen them show out the best of the best, and when they can go toe-to-toe with this Huntington Beach team, but it's those mistakes and those little plays that if you get caught sleeping, the other team's going to take advantage, especially against Huntington Beach. You clearly saw a lot of those problems come out in full colors today, and that's something that Coach Josh Lee is certainly going to have to clean up before they get to the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think that's why they're going to have a very long team meeting. You can see them right there having their post-game meeting out in shallow right field, and it is those little things that you're talking about. You can't have the pass balls. You can't not be looking at the ball, clearly enough. I mean, you saw the one with Clapp. He just didn't even see the ball go right behind him, and it led to another free run. At that point, the game already felt like it was out of reach, but little miscues like that absolutely are momentum killers. And then they had a couple double plays in this game, too, that they were just trying to be a little bit too aggressive. You like the aggression when you're down, but sometimes it's a little bit more about trying to stay patient rather than just trying to get your way back into it right away.
And patience is certainly what they're going to need, because that is exactly what they'll be looking for as we get through the rest of the playoffs. So still a lot on the table for the Sailors team, but still a lot to look up to, especially with what they've been able to do success-wise against a lot of these teams. You know, last year against Huntington Beach, they took away the series from them at the very end, but this time it's the Oilers season, and it definitely feels like that for them. And if you're Coach Maduro, you certainly got to feel like you have the entire city of Huntington Beach riding on your back, and if not, then the entire open division world on your back.
Absolutely. I mean, he's definitely earning. We're going to see how the seeding works for them. It's kind of impressive that we were talking about how good they were beating John Bosco as well earlier this year, and yet from what we were still seeing, obviously the committee's still going to have to do certain things with the seedings. They were currently ranked below them, even though they had beaten them earlier this season. I think that they have showed that they deserve at least a top 10 seeding. We'll have to figure out where they end up.
Well, a lot to see there for sure, and we'll see what ends up on Huntington Beach. They still have one more game later on this season, but more to find out later on. For Newport Harbor, it's the end of their season, but they still will have a chance at the playoffs. So, no interview here. Once again, for Tark TV Sports, I'm Justin Lee on play-by-play alongside Colin Costigan. Nice to have you as well here with us. Be sure to follow at Tark TV Sports on Instagram for our full broadcast schedule and updates on upcoming coverage. Catch us next time in the playoffs for whichever Newport Harbor sport comes about here in the rest of our slate. But thank you for spending your evening with us for this matchup between Newport Harbor Sailors and the Huntington Beach Oilers. For everyone here at Tark TV Sports and our friends and family watching at home, we say thank you for being with us tonight. Good night from Newport Beach. That one, right?
The Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, 48 years strong. Now it's time for the Ford F-150 PowerBoost Hybrid 4x4.